All right, welcome to our podcast. I am here with my dear friend Dana today, and you probably recognize Dana if you follow us on other social media channels or ever have shopped the website. Dana is one of our models and she does work here in the store, but what you probably don't know is more to the story. So just a little bit of background. I'm Janelle, and Dana and I have actually been friends since 2016 or 2017, I think. We've been friends since 2017. We met because our kids were in kindergarten together. And at that, when you're a kindergarten mom, you want to meet other parents and you're a little bit more involved than you are maybe when they're in middle school and high school. And we just instantly connected. And then our kids have been in the same class really since kindergarten, with the exception, I think, of 1 year. And we just have been friends. And at first she was a shopper and at the store, and then it's just developed into more of a friendship. And if you ever met Dana, you get this very warm, she's very kind, she's very considerate personality, and she's hilarious. She has this sarcastic side to her. But what you don't get to see, and what we want to talk about on the podcast today, is that Dana is very introverted. Very. And so we're going to talk about what that looks like and what she does to fight her introvertedness, because you actually have two kids that aren't very introverted.
No.
Yeah. But your husband is very introverted.
Yes.
So together they can get into introverted world.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Okay. So then Dana, tell our audience a little bit more about you.
So I'm native Texan. I've lived here all my life except for a few years when we lived in Europe. My younger daughter, the one that is the same age as her son, was actually born in Finland. So that's telling you this because having to live in another country actually helped me be less of an introvert.
Oh, okay.
So if you had known me before that, you probably, I was even worse.
Oh.
Because I had to ask people.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know Finnish.
I was going to say, do they speak English?
They do.
Okay.
So you just say, sorry, I don't speak Finnish. And they're like, oh, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, nice.
But, I would have to ask, where, and I have no directional sense whatsoever. And
we have that in common.
Can you help me? Where do I go to get to here? And so that kind of helped me. That and having to make friends. Because the first couple months I didn't make friends. I was kind of angry about being in Finland. I didn't really want to be there. It turned into I thought, I didn't really think we would go, and so I let my husband keep doing the interviews, and then he's like, okay, let's go. I was like, okay. And so it was just really hard because our oldest was not even 1 yet. And so, but I had to join mommy groups to be able to make friends that way. And so I wasn't just stuck in the house, especially in the winters when it's dark, almost 24/7.
I was going to say, they don't get as much sunlight because of where they are on the earth. Yeah.
And so your depression is really bad.
Yeah. So, okay. So you're a pretty serious introvert. And you're, but you know that you have to do things to make yourself more extroverted. But you've always been this way.
Yes.
Even when you were young.
Even when I, in middle school, high school, I was, had a couple of friends and I would only stick with them.
Okay.
And I would have to know you in order to,
open up.
Yeah.
So you were somebody they would have described as very shy and quiet.
Oh, yes.
Really?
Yes.
See, if you were just here in the store visiting with Dana, I think that would surprise most people. Because here, you're not that way. Your personality is very friendly and warm and helpful, and you do come out of your shell very naturally. But I do know, especially working alongside of you, there are times where you do need more quiet or just background noise. And I've learned that about you. And it doesn't bother me a bit. I'm just like, oh, okay, I can just be quiet. Okay, but being somebody that is very introverted, what type of things do you do to force your extrovertedness?
So one thing, especially since my husband is also an introvert, when
tell him what your husband does.
He works for Apple. He works in the IT cybersecurity world. Yeah. So
and he's perfectly happy with not talking to a soul.
Oh yeah.
For days.
I mean, his boss wants him to be a manager, and he's like,
"Do I have to talk to people?" I mean, I get that. Yeah.
But, I mean, and he's really good at what he does. I mean, the previous company, he worked for almost 20 years, and he was a manager there and hated it because
he had to talk to people. It's so funny.
So, but when we were in our 20s, we went to, since we were both introverts, it was just basically me and him. And we'd go to play pool or shuffleboard. And then, we got into our 30s, and then it's like, oh, let's just stay home and watch a movie. And then we started having kids. And then I think it was just like, okay, we're comfortable, just the two of us, and then not going anywhere. And then after a couple of years of that, you're like,
something's got to change.
I need some space from you. Like,
yeah.
I need something else.
So I find, as an observer of your life, you and your husband go on a lot of dates.
Yes.
And as somebody who, again, is just like on the outside looking in, it just seems like, oh, you're just like super in love with your husband. And not that you're not. But through the years, of course she is. But through the years, I've learned it's almost a systematic thing so that you are planning time together and planning time as a family. And I find it fascinating because you don't ever get to a point where you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't had a date night, because they're built in. Mm-hmm. It's like you have this built-in system of all these date nights. Yeah. And it's really cool. How did you learn to do that?
We just, when we started to have, our kids started getting older and we could leave them with someone, and then we're like, okay, we haven't been on a date night in, like a couple months. Let's leave the girls for, a couple hours and go. And then it got to be like, oh yeah, okay, this is nice to have some alone time. And so now that they're older and can take care of themselves, then
it does make it easier.
It makes it a lot easier.
But sometimes you bring them along too.
Yes, we do have season tickets to the Broadway in Austin. So the four of us will go to a play. I think they start in September through May every month. And so
once a month?
Once a month.
Okay. And you started that as a result of realizing like you've got to get out of the house.
Because then it'd be a weekend and the girls are like, okay, what are we going to do? And I would be like, I'm staying in bed. I don't care what you do.
That's awesome.
But then I'm like, okay, I'm only going to have them for a little bit. And
you're really good at that.
I love my girls. They're very, very dear to me. And so I want to spend as much time as I can with them. And so we have Broadway in Austin tickets. And so that will give us time as a family. So that's planned every month. And, and we always have a fun time. I mean, there are times when I'm like, I don't want to go tonight. I'm like, I want to send the three of them, and then just stay in my room. Like I told you, unplug the doggy doorbell.
So the dogs can't bother you.
So the dogs can't ring the doorbell to let them out or let them in. Just put them out or put them in and just leave it. And then
what do you do?
I don't want to hear anything.
Because you're not reading. You're not binge watching Netflix. You're not, what is your thing when everybody leaves? What are you doing?
Sometimes if I feel like I haven't done enough in the day, it's like I'll fold laundry or, plan what we're going to have for dinner the next week. And then
The whole week?
Well, kind of.
Wow. I don't ever plan anything in a week.
Planned and it doesn't happen. And then I'm like, no, I have this alone time. I'm taking advantage of it. So I'll cross stitch or watch something.
I didn't
on
know you
TV.
cross stitch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've never seen anything of cross stitch. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
When did you start doing that?
In middle school, maybe?
Oh, wow. So what's the biggest thing you've cross stitched?
I did one that I loved, and I actually am disappointed in myself. It was orchids.
Well, don't tell me that.
It was orchids, and I know I was doing it when we came back from Finland. So that was in 2013.
Okay.
And my plan was to have it framed and be able to put it somewhere in my house. And
It's still not finished?
no, it's finished. I just never framed it.
Well, that's so easy to do.
I know.
Oh, you need to tell the girls and they'll take care of that for you. Oh, that's sweet. Okay, so where is it? In your attic?
No, I think it's under my bed and
Under your bed?
and with all my cross stitching stuff.
Okay, so if you're not cross stitching and doing household chores, then what is your favorite thing to do? Be honest.
Alone?
Yes.
Be alone? Oh, probably sleep.
Sleep. And that's always been.
Yeah.
Not just because you're a mom and you're being
No.
pulled 100 directions.
No.
You just
I
love
love
to
to
sleep.
sleep.
I love it. And so, but you have to force yourself, like you've trained yourself to not be that way.
Right. Because then I get depressed.
Yeah.
And-
if you sleep too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
I can see that. I can see where I would do that myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, okay, so you get the season tickets, and once a month as a family, right? Or do you only have two?
no.
Okay, as a family, y'all go to Broadway on Austin, but then there's other things. You're a subscriber to other things so that you're always getting new information.
So we always go to, just Torna and I always go to ACL every year. So we know, like either the first weekend or the second weekend of October, we have that. And then we also do, when the comedy tour comes, like in April, I forget what it's called, but it's like 2 weeks of just different comedians that come.
Okay.
We'll always go to at least a couple of those.
How did you learn about that?
Torin, I don't know how he found out about that.
Okay.
Probably reading the community impact. Probably through that.
Okay.
But who knows?
Because y'all go see a lot of comedians.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm glad it does, because it gives me a release of I'm like, okay, I needed that.
Yeah,
And
because it's
so-
fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then we always go to, and then my favorite thing, my thing that relaxes me and makes me happy are concerts,
Live music.
live music. So if there's someone I really want to see, then we figure out when the pre-sale is, and we're both on our computers trying to get
They
in.
get they get these days where they're trying to log in and get tickets, and Dana's got all these people helping, and it's great. They're very intense, and they get the tickets.
If it's a good, sometimes it's okay, we'll try, but if we don't get them, then it's not
Sure.
a big deal. But my daughter and I like the Lumineers, and so she found out the Lumineers were coming. She's like, Mom, will you take me to see the Lumineers? I was like, okay, well, and I've seen them tons of times.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't need to see them again, but
It's something you're passing on to her now.
yeah.
Yeah.
And she's my music person too. And so, but we got tickets, and so she keeps, every once in a while, a Lumineer song will come on. She's like, Mom, I'm so excited for the concert. And
When
it's
is
not
it?
till, it's October, end of October.
See, I think that's part of the reason I'm not into this part of life, because you have to be such a good planner, and I'm just not a planner. Mm-hmm. Are you just a planner, or you've just become that way because you've learned this about yourself?
I think it gives me less anxiety if I have a plan. If, and I'm not as bad as I was when I was middle school, high school, college. If someone sprung something on me, I would go into panic mode, but I've gotten better at that.
Yeah.
And then with both Torin and I being introverts, we learned we have to plan stuff or we won't ever do anything. And then
You'll
it's
just not go.
Yeah.
And you actually have to pay for it too. It can't be like live music at a restaurant. It
Oh,
has
yeah.
to be Because like there's a restaurant, Hard Count has live music, I think every Friday and Saturday night. That isn't the live music. Like you have to have it where you put money against it so that you will go.
Yeah.
Because that forces you to get in front of people.
Yeah.
But I love that about you, because through the years, what I've learned, and one of the neatest things about Dana is it gives you so much depth to your personality. So because you go to these different events and you're forced to interact with people, you also, because you're kind and you are warm and welcoming, you'll talk to these people and then you meet new people.
Right.
And you have really neat stories about the people that you've met along the way. And I find that to be such a nice quality, because you could just be like, I'm an introvert, I'm going to sit here and, you know, I'm being forced to be here, but I'm going to enjoy this for me. Like you could be kind of selfish about it, but you don't. You often make friends with the people around you, and sometimes you'll exchange phone numbers and like who's the most interesting person that you've met through the years that you can think of? Or even if you're Finnish friends, because you're still really close to some of them.
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, one of my friends from Finland, he plays floor hockey, and so
what's floor hockey?
It's basically hockey on just a wooden floor instead of ice.
Okay, never heard of it. Okay.
And he's from Finland, but he now lives in Arizona.
You would think they would play ice hockey in Finland.
No, he plays floor hockey here. He's
not Finnish.
No, he's Finnish, but he lives here now. He
lives
in
so
the US.
We don't have ice rinks.
We don't, yeah.
So he's made a way to play hockey where it's 100 degrees. Okay, this makes more sense.
He lives in Arizona, and he plays.
Oh, he's in Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay, what is this gentleman's name? I remember you told me about him. Oli, that's right.
And so, and I'm good friends with his wife, and so he'll, text me and say, hey, I'm coming to a tournament in Austin, like, can we meet up? And
you're really good about following up with those relationships.
Yes.
What was that lady you met the other day and you were just talking to her and you...
At the vet clinic? At the doggy daycare?
Yes.
She just started, she asked me, I guess, what kind of dog I had, because I have an English cream golden retriever.
She's beautiful.
And so she was asking, like, what kind of dog is that? And then she started talking to me, and turns out she lost her husband like 6 months ago, and she's just really lonely. So I ended up talking to her for like 45 minutes outside the doggy daycare drop off, and
just gave her an ear to listen to her stories.
So I was like, let me get your name and your number. And I was like, you're the kind of person that I think my girls would really like to have a grandma, like
just a kind soul in your life.
Like, give me your number and I'll call,
But this happens a lot. Like you, or not a lot, but I think it's appropriate. Like you're not a stalker. It's appropriate amount of friendliness, but it's not something that you would think an introverted person would do. I think it's because of the years of you working on yourself and growing and developing, you have become that way.
And I've had to I have to force myself to, because there's things that, like the other day, Anna and I were eating lunch together, and our waitress had like this really big snake tattoo. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, my best friends always tried to get me to get one because I was bitten by a rattlesnake. And so she's
the coolest story.
She wants me to get one from like my arm, my shoulder, wrapping all the way around my arm.
Laura does?
Yeah. And then ending right here, because this is where I got bitten. And
okay.
I'm like, no.
That is too big.
But hers was not her full arm, but it was a lot of it. And in my mind, I'm like, that's really cool. If Laura was here. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to tell her this. And so I'm like, can I see she had it covered up a little. I was like, can I see your full tattoo of your snake? And she's like, oh yeah. And she started talking. And I was like, yeah, my best friend's trying to get me to get one. And because I was bitten by a rattlesnake. And she's like, what? I was like, and then she said something about like how it's weird how different people react to like rattlesnakes. For me,
you almost died.
No.
Did you die?
No.
I thought you looked at me. I thought you were gonna say I did die. You were in the hospital several days.
I was in ICU for I think 3 days.
It was a while.
Had had to get 4 vials of anti-venom.
You did kind of almost die. But they didn't like have to get the things.
No.
They didn't.
They didn't shock me, no. And so I was telling her, like, okay, that's, like, and she was like, yeah, I don't, I was like, yeah. She's like, what did it feel like? I said, it just felt like being stung by a wasp.
Did it really?
Yeah, it didn't hurt at all.
Huh.
And so that's why I didn't think it actually got me. I thought it just scraped me.
Okay.
And then I started swelling. And
So for those of you who are not familiar with rattlesnakes, and we are in Texas, and we obviously have rattlesnakes. We're one of the states that gets rattlesnakes. But what a lot of people don't realize is the baby rattlesnakes are even more poisonous than the adult rattlesnakes.
Right.
So now that you've started the story, you have to finish the story.
About how?
Like, why were you messing with a baby rattlesnake?
Okay. So I dropped my youngest daughter my oldest daughter off at my neighbor's house, who actually is my best friend. And her stepdaughter and my oldest daughter were in the same grade. So I had dropped her off to go play. And we get up to her front door, and my youngest daughter is like, Mom, there's a rattlesnake right there. I was like, oh, okay. So I tell Peter, her husband, he comes out, kills it, chops, it up into like 4 pieces. And then her daughter, who was maybe a sophomore in high school, came out, and she's like, oh, I've never seen a rattlesnake. And like the largest piece that had been chopped up was upside down. I was like, well, you need to see like the pattern of it. And
the teacher side of you came out.
Yeah.
And you wanted to teach her.
The biology teacher side.
Yeah.
And so, I've grown up with rattlesnakes. My dad and I used to go rattlesnake hunting. So I jumped.
Rattlesnake hunting. She also wants to be a storm chaser. She can
yes.
live through tornadoes. Girl is crazy, and she's like super quiet.
So I was like, oh, well, I'll turn it over, and so you can see, because she wasn't going to touch it.
Sure.
I was like, it's dead. I touched it, and...
But you weren't thinking clearly.
Well, this has never happened before. I mean, I've done it several times.
Oh.
Touched, just a part of it. Well, when I did, the head came flying.
Wait. The 4 pieces are totally separate.
Mm-hmm.
And you touched like the mid section, and then the head came flying. Like some poltergeist.
Yeah, and got me right on my middle
From
finger.
the ground to, how did I miss this part of your story?
Yeah, and I looked at Laura, I was like, did that really just happen? She's like, yeah.
That's weird.
And I was just...
I thought it was just like on the ground.
No, it flew through the air, got my finger.
Oh my God.
And I was like, did that really... Because it was just weird. It had never...
That's weird.
Yeah. And so, and she's like, yeah, that really just happened. I was like, okay. And like I said, it just felt like being stung by a wasp. So I thought it just like grazed me. And like I didn't have any venom or anything. I was like, oh, I'll be okay. Like, no big deal. And she's like, let's at least go in and wash your hand. I'm like, I'll be fine. I live like 2 minutes away. And she's like, come wash your hand. I was like, okay. And so the sarcastic in me, I said, okay. And I'm washing my hand. I was like, as long as I don't like start hyperventilating and like wheezing and stuff, I'll be okay. And she's like, yeah. And so I'm washing my hands, and then I start going,
She thinks you're kidding.
and her face, she just turned white.
Oh, she didn't think you were kidding.
She thought I was serious.
Oh, you were kidding.
I was kidding. Yeah.
Oh, Dana. It's so hard to know when Dana's being serious or not serious.
And so she starts freaking out. I'm like, Laura, I'm only kidding. Like, I'm fine. And she's like, of course, cusses me out. And then my little daughter, I was like, okay, I'm going to go home. And my little daughter was with me and going back home with me, and she's on the scooter. So she gets home before I do and goes and tells Torrin, like, Mom got bitten by a rattlesnake.
That flew through the air.
And so he meets me outside. He's like, are they saying you got bitten by a rattlesnake? I said, well, I don't think it actually bit me. I think it just it didn't hurt. I think it just grazed me. I was like, I'm fine. He's like, get your ass in the car. We're going to the hospital.
Thank goodness Torin thought about it.
Yeah, and I was like, no, I'm fine. He's like, I don't care. Like, we're going just to check. And so, thank goodness, because...
When did you start swelling up?
Within before Randall's. So within 5 minutes.
Wow, that's not very much time.
So and then
it just started going up your arm?
I got to the emergency room, and it was just, they would make marks like every 30 minutes, and it was just slowly, and then it got to like right here, and then all of a sudden went straight up to my arm, and they're like, or my shoulder, and they're like, okay, we're doing the antivenom now.
Oh my goodness. Well, what a story.
Our waitress, I was like, yeah, it is. I was like, I was actually bitten by a brown recluse too. And I said, I'm sure you've seen pictures of people that, and they end up losing like chunks of their arms. And when my doctor told me, okay, you got bitten by a brown recluse, I was like mortified.
Yeah.
But it ended up being,
it was okay.
I have a hole, but it's not wider than my pinky.
Where is this hole?
On my butt.
You never told me that. You have a brown recluse hole on your butt.
I got bitten twice.
Oh my gosh, where are you staying, that brown recluse?
We had just moved into our house, our house in Round Rock, and I was planting some flowers, and I would just... And they had, the people before us had the flagstone stuff. Okay. And so I moved the flagstone, sit down, plant, stand. Well, I guess that's when I got bitten. And that I didn't know because I didn't feel it at all.
Oh my gosh.
And then Torin wouldn't sleep with me for a couple days because he was afraid that it had laid eggs in my butt. And then little baby... brown recluses were going to be all over. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's funny. Oh my goodness. Okay.
I am sarcastic, and I used to not be so when I was elementary, high school, I was quiet, and I'd probably think the things, but not actually say them. But then college and after.
When you really started to realize, I can't live life as an introvert. I have to do things that are going to force me to be around people. And the benefit that comes from that is you've met all these cool people. You have really interesting stories. She gets bit in the butt by a brown recluse and in the hand by a rattlesnake. But seriously, if you would just stay in your house, those things wouldn't happen. Yeah. But you force yourself. And so now... we're not going to say how old you are, but you're in your later 40s and you're seeing the fruits of all that work that you've done all this time by not just allowing yourself to be by yourself all the time.
Yeah, and I don't freak out. It used to be I wouldn't want to go anywhere outside alone. I want Torin to go with me because I didn't want to have to talk to people because if I talked to someone I didn't know, it would freak me out.
Yeah.
But now I just...
Now you're just
strangers and say, "Oh, I like your tattoo."
And you would never know that Dana is that introverted. And so that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you on the podcast today. And we've just learned so much more about you. Well, thank you for being here.
Yes.
I hope that this helps somebody else that maybe is struggling as well, because sometimes when you see the result of somebody's work that they've done, you don't realize how much work they put into this. But truly, you've been working how long? At least 20 years on yourself and forcing yourself into difficult situations and moving, saying, fine, yes, we'll move to Europe. It's much easier to say, no, we're not moving to Europe. But to get yourself out of that comfort zone and to grow your brain and to grow your personality, what's the word? I admire it. It's an amazing thing about you. And it makes it interesting always to talk to her. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, that's it. Bye.